Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Here we're at our final series of the day between Never Lucky and Method Orange here. And I mean, I was kind of posturing just before we head to break who will win this series. I think everyone's won this series. Twitch chat's won today. Everything's been crazy. You know, the predictions have been great. The games have been great. And we have one more series to go here. A rematch, of course, of a series we saw twice last week. We saw Method Orange win 3-0 against Never Lucky in upper bracket. And then in the grand finals, it was a 4-1 victory for Never Lucky. So the team's tied 4-4 in total last weekend. Now, of course, we're in a situation where Method Orange and Never Lucky have time to reanalyze those series, see who comes out on top. You guys seem to believe that 70% chance Method Orange will win this one. Never Lucky lead with their main composition, but Method Orange have changed it up slightly. Sidu comes in on the Druid.
All right, Demon Hunter, Death Knight, Druid, much more standard from Method Orange. Never Lucky still running their Rogue Mage Paladin, and this is a matchup that Jamili's team with the same comp was not able to overcome. So I am curious if Never Lucky can beat the Demon Hunter Death Knight with that same composition and how they decide to play it. Are they going to do Druid swaps? Sidu's running Renewal, so he definitely is considering that as an option.
I think he expects to be trained down to this particular matchup, if I'm being honest with you. This is what normally happens, and I think that's why in the past, Sidu has opted to play the Restoration Shaman. He wasn't the most confident being trained down on Restoration Druid, but we saw last week all the hard work and practice Sidu's been putting into that Restoration Druid really was paying off. It seemed like he was on point defensively and offensively, and I feel like right now, he's more than prepared for an offensive push from Never Lucky. Although the last game, these two teams met up against each other, Sidu was taken down quite quickly in a big swap, but Sidu knows he's the main target. He's just sitting in stealth. He's allowing Mez and Trill to move in. They can heal themselves. They're developing a lead, and Sidu can just stall at the game as long as he possibly can. He's going to be waiting till the last moment to come out and start healing up Trill so he doesn't fall further behind. But Never Lucky, their main game plan, go after Sidu, and Sidu knows that.
All right, they're going to be engaging the attack. I'm wondering if Sidu is playing Feral Affinity or Guardian Affinity. We're going to double check here after this initial play from Never Lucky. Any Magic Zone is high value here from Mez, that purple barrier. Hit Combustion and Vendetta, although it doesn't even look like it really mattered. They get the Gladiator Safeguard. They continue the pursuit with the Avenging Crusader, and Vendetta still rolling. Sidu dashing away, but Colo has Sprint, Blessing of Freedom. They're going all in for the kill. Sidu Barkskins, but he's not in bear form for the stun. Trill is trying to counter pressure, but there's no damage. Hammer of Justice, triple stun lockdown into the Garrote Silence. Sidu hovering around 20%. He must be running that Frenzied Regeneration, the Guardian Affinity, and anticipating himself as the target. He survives the first wave of Never Lucky and will be highly durable for the next attack, assuming that he gets into bear form for the stun. And I think that this strategy is going to be a little bit too predictable at this point now.
Well, this is the game. Sidu has to keep himself alive before Zach goes out of mana. Once Zach goes out of mana, then Method Orange start developing a massive lead. You can see good pressure coming in from Mez and Trill at this point. Zach trying to get away from these mana rifts, but Trill has been able to consistently land them. Majordan backing him up now with a nice polymorph, and that's going to be the name of the game. Colo sits on Sidu. Majordan has to control Mez and Trill, buying his team enough time to take Sidu down, but Sidu, he has his Trinket, he has Barkskin, they still have Darkness left to work with. Method Orange has a lot of opportunities to survive here.
Big swap onto Trill with the Smoke Bomb, trying to make a play here and take down the Demon Hunter. Sidu's into Poly, Trill wants to dispel it. Actually, not even really good. It does out to go for the dispel a little bit late. May not have really even been needed in that position. Mez is polyed. Sidu's out in midfield. I'm wondering if he's trying to stop Zach from drinking with the Ursul's Vortex, but he does not want to be in midfield for too long as he is the target. He's going to stun Colo, then get back to the pillar, immediately duck for cover. He knows that he's the most likely to die against this composition. The Demon Hunter and the Death Knight are just so self-sustaining with the Soul Rending and Leech Healing on the Demon Hunter and the Death Strikes of the Death Knight. So as long as Sidu is at the pillar, he's in bear form, rotates through his defensive cooldowns effectively, I think he'll make it out alive. And so far, it's been so good.
Yeah, so far so good. Sidu manages to hold on. Barsky gets traded out. He still has the Renewal, so that big defensive talent if he needs it. And I have to say, Method Orange, they're looking good. Zach's on 50% mana. They haven't really been able to get too much rolling so far. Method Orange always has an answer. There's not too many scary moments in the game so far. Full kidney shot on Sidu. He's in bear form. Anti-Magic Zone trades out, and it's a perfect trade. Majidin with the combustion, Mez with the anti-magic zone, and I want to see if Majidin is running the talent to reduce the cooldown of his combustion, that Firestarter build. We'll have to see once this fireball goes off. He is. So that's what he needs to do. He needs to find fireballs so he can desync combustion with the anti-magic zone, and that's their opportunity to really push forward and try to take down Sea-Doo with those offensive cooldowns.
So they've split their cooldowns on this push. They led with Vendetta, they got Barkskin. Then they went with Combust, they got Anti-Magic Zone. Now they're going with Avenging Crusader. They're hoping to get a kill or get a Darkness. Let's see how Method Orange respond. Still a lot of damage they may need to respect. Sea-Doo so far isn't making any trades, and he's holding out. If he doesn't make any trades, it puts him so far ahead. At this point, by the time the next Vendetta and Combustion roll around, I think Zach is going to be at 0 mana, assuming that Trill keeps nailing these mana rifts. Trill is blinded. This is to try and potentially bait a Trinket for a Smoke Bomb kill on him later, but he opts not to Trinket, so he's not going to leave that as an option on the table. Method Orange playing this very conservatively, and I would say correctly. So far, they haven't really made any significant errors, and I do assume that if they continue to make no mistakes, that they should be able to take game one.
Despite the mana rifts coming in from Trill, Sea-Doo is actually even on mana with Zach. He might actually be a little bit behind, so struggling to keep himself alive at this point. His mana could eventually just run out. The Kleptomania talent is so strong from Mage, basically empowers your spell steal, removing all of those heal over time effects the Restoration Druid has at their disposal in one global cooldown. So very effective. It also taxes the Druid's mana quite heavily. Colo looking for an offensive push. Cheap shot on Trill, cheap shot on Mez, kidney shot onto Trill. Bit of a peculiar setup here for Never Lucky, but they bought Zach enough time to sit down and get a drink. So they traded out Vanish, they traded out Stun DRs, and Zach got full mana, and that's not necessarily the worst trade. Sea-Doo now way behind on mana, and Never Lucky, they could just secure the late game advantage.
Oh, that drink just put Never Lucky back into the fight here. Double Ring of Frost right during the stun. Perfect timing. It's 3-on-1. Sea-Doo did pre-Iron Park and get into bear form. That's reducing a lot of the damage. So even though his team was crowd controlled, he does survive that attack. Now they need to deal with the Avenging Crusader that's available in about 2 more seconds. And Zach's going to have many of those thanks to that drink, which means just more damage tossed at Sea-Doo. More mana that he really can't afford to spend. He's actually so far behind, and Never Lucky could just win with overwhelming pressure, which we've seen them time and time again. You usually expect Rogue Mage to win with the setup and the burst, which they're doing a decent job of as well. Polymorph on Trill, stun on Sea-Doo, that's to delay Darkness. Now it's used very late. They're going to use the Gladiator's Maledicts to try and counter pressure Majidin while Sea-Doo chills in the Darkness. Majidin's going to respect that, use the Ice Block so he can stabilize, then polymorph the DPS members, being Mez and Trill, try and stall for the next kidney shot on Sea-Doo. Sea-Doo still rotating well through his cooldowns. Actually, Majidin is a vulnerable target. Colo is increasingly vulnerable. The next triple stun could actually kill Never Lucky, even if they don't run out of mana. They've got Smoke Bomb, but I don't think there's any opportunities on any other targets at the moment. They catch Sea-Doo. He pre-Iron Parks, but I don't think the Iron Park is really that valuable. Maybe a bit of an error to use the Hammer of Justice first as well. Trill can reverse magic that as he does, and Majidin is going to die. They definitely overextended there, overstayed their welcome. But Sea-Doo's Druid looked solid in game number 1. I would say overall, just perfect defense.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be completely honest, as a Druid player myself, I think that's a big solid thumbs up to Sea-Doo on the Druid. I think he had a really strong game there. He bear formed most of the stuns. He preemptively Iron Barked almost every single stun that he didn't. And I mean, yeah, the Iron Bark isn't necessarily as strong as the bear form, but you have to come out sometimes. So you might as well do it combined with the Iron Bark. So a thumbs up to Sea-Doo there on the Restoration Druid, able to make sure that he makes through and his team wins 1-0.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He was actually talented as well into the renewal, so he expected this strategy, and Sea-Doo always was in bear form pretty much for most of these stuns. Every single time he knew when he was off stun DR, and you know, to Mez and Trill's credit as well, they had really solid defense that they were rotating with Sea-Doo, and they also were able to find these pressure points where they applied pressure onto Majidin. And the thing is, I actually kind of expected Zach to just run out of mana at some point, but Zach did a good job as well, staying ahead in terms of mana, but he just couldn't really keep his mage alive in this situation. Sea-Doo pre-Iron Barks this, and this is also a Hammer of Justice. Trill trinkets, gets the reverse magic, and then Sea-Doo, of course, just has the Iron Bark, has all of his healing over time effects, and you know, Zach doesn't have any cooldowns to work with, so all of that mana, unfortunately for him, he's not able to spend it, and Major is going to go down.
Yeah, and we were asking Trill, right? Like, if they're going to play a strategy like this where they don't go for the mana rifts, why not just play the Death Knight Windwalker? And his answer basically when we asked Sidu was because the Demon Hunter is more tanky, it's not an exposed weakness. We talked about it a bit earlier on the desk. So this Death Knight and the Demon Hunter in a game that fast aren't necessarily viable targets. So as long as Sidu can play that well, is there really an opening for Never Lucky in this game?
I mean, not really. We did see when Sidu was playing the Restoration Shaman, I believe it was last week, on Ruins of Lordaeron, Trill ended up falling, but I think it was just a bit of cooldown mismanagement. I don't think so. What you're saying is true. The Death Knight and the Demon Hunter, they're really durable targets, and then you have the Restoration Druid. Sidu obviously is playing every single defensive talent. He knows their main strategy is going to be tunnel him for as long as possible. So as long as he's playing this well, there's not that many openings in this matchup for Never Lucky, and I think that's one of the reasons we've seen teams like Mew Mew Kitty Cats, for example, really struggle against this composition because there's not too many open targets, barring a few mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. And there was basically zero mistakes on the side of Method Orange there. I think the one mistake we do have to call out, Sid, is that they allowed Zach to get that one drink. I was actually surprised that that didn't end up impacting them more in the game.
I mean, Trill and Mez are just doing a lot of counter pressure, a lot more than I think was anticipated, and maybe that was attributed to Never Lucky's confidence after drinking. They're like, oh, I just got full mana, let's just stand on top of them. Oh wait, I don't have any cooldowns and I'm a paladin. Maybe they just kind of forgot about that. So even if they've got a full mana bar, if they hit a situation where they don't have any cooldowns, that is the weakness of the Paladin. I think they just overstayed their welcome. If they had maybe played more defensive and just tried to stay alive, they could have extended and got a kill later into dampening. But it looks like Method Orange have a better answer, and they're playing solidly with that Druid, Death Knight, Demon Hunter, and I think it's important that they have confidence with Sidu on the Druid. I think relying on the Shaman a little bit too much in the past. So he has played other healers before, but it seems a bit strange now that he's hesitant, or what to say, just lacking confidence in the Druid. He's often kind of like the self-deprecating humor, like, oh, see Drew, lol, kind of stuff. But I feel like if he just plays Druid that well in terms of defense, I don't understand why you wouldn't keep playing the Druid in the positions where it's better than Shaman.
Yeah, and Ricky talked about it a little bit at the start of the game, that after the spring finals were obviously really bad performance, like everyone felt bad for them, or it was just awful, right? Like they really took it seriously. They were super unhappy about it, and this team has been one of the teams actually practicing the most. And almost every single time I've seen these guys practicing, it has been with Sidu on the Druid, really saying, hey, this is the meta healer, we have to play it. They blind lock in the Windwalker Mage Resto Druid, which they did take a game in the grand final. What do you think of this one, Zico? Would you have preferred the DHDK, or do you think this is a good pick?
I'm not sure, because Never Lucky has a lot of compositions themselves that they run, so maybe it's safer to just blind lock the the Windwalker Mage, on a big map like this. Personally, though, I would pick DHDK until I'm forced off of it, because I don't see what option Never Lucky would have.
It's the Windwalker Death Knight.
It's the Windwalker Death Knight.
The Windwalker Death Knight Mistweaver is what they're afraid of. The Druid just getting trained down. I think that's one of the answers we saw Looney's team come up with.
Wildcard beat Method Black with that. That's true.
Okay, so the reason that they maybe lock the Shaman in is because that would be a better answer for the Windwalker DK, but here, since it's a counter pick, they feel like the Druid DH wouldn't work out, you think?
Yeah, so I just feel like if they did lock in the Resto Druid, Demon Hunter Death Knight, Never Lucky, it's an easy Windwalker Death Knight Mistweaver. They could just run at Sidu, and it's really difficult for him to live. At the early stages of the game, the Demon Hunter and the Death Knight, they're not going to be able to put out that much pressure. They're more of an attrition composition, so when a team is playing that aggressive on your healer, I think it's going to be easy for Sidu to fall down. So they've opted for a more neutral setup with the Frost Mage, bringing in Sam I Am, Trill on the Windwalker Monk. I think the Windwalker Frostmage Resto Druid, it's a well-rounded composition. Sure, not the best into everything, but I think it has a fair shot into basically every matchup.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. We did see them take, I think, the first game of the Grand Finals playing this composition. Obviously, the 3-0 they had was running this into the Rogue Mage, I believe, Never Lucky were playing. The Rogue Mage Druid, I think it was, actually, in that series. So Method Orange have had success with this composition into Never Lucky, but the last game of the Grand Finals, I remember it was just a big one-shot onto Sidu very early on in Game 5 of that series. So what do you think Method Orange really needs to look out for in this series, Sid, or in this matchup specifically?
Well, I think Sidu proved that he can more than handle that if that does happen, and I feel like a mage can support a druid pretty effectively. And it's just Method Orange saying they're more worried about the Windwalker, Mistweaver, Death Knight as the DHDK Druid. They want to make sure that that's not the option. They feel more confident in this matchup. They know they're not going to run the Windwalker, Mistweaver, Death Knight into the Mage Windwalker. They're going to run the Rogue Mage Paladin. Sea-Doo obviously feels more confident in that matchup. Otherwise, they wouldn't blind lock this first. They have won, I believe, at least one game, and those kind of all-in kills, yeah, it might happen occasionally, but I don't know if it happens consistently. So Sea-Doo, it's already been happened to him once. So if it happens again, it's kind of just unfortunate, but I don't think it's going to happen again.
Well, we've been pretty impressed by Never Lucky as well throughout these cups. You know, Zach has been playing DPS and healer. Kolo's been playing DPS and healer. These guys have been incredibly flexible. Method Orange respecting that flexibility and the DK Windwalker potential. Fancy their chances once again into the RM Paladin here of Never Lucky.
Yep, let's see what Never Lucky can get done. Method Orange, I think this is a composition they're not particularly favored against, but like I said, Windwalker, Frost Mage, Restoration Druid, it has a fair shot against everything. It's got a lot of control, a lot of burst damage because of that Windwalker Monk and all that control coming in from the Frost Mage, Restoration Druid. We'll have to see what Kolo can get done. I think he's just looking for Sea-Doo, and he might end up finding him running right on top. I'm really surprised. Sea-Doo saw Kolo.
Saw him,
yeah, Sea-Doo saw Kolo. Kolo didn't see Sea-Doo, and Sea-Doo had a bit of a panic moment getting into bear form. You do not want to get sapped as a Restoration Druid against this composition. Is an easy all-in for Never Lucky in that case. So good response. Hammer of Justice on Sea-Doo into a Ring of Frost, but Trill shuts it down. Double leg sweep coming in. Samayam nails a sheep on Zach. Majorden having to play a little bit defensive. He's on the run. Samayam pulls out the Icy Veins, looking to get really aggressive, but there's just not that much follow-up.
Not that much follow-up indeed. However, I expect to swap pretty soon onto Sea-Doo in this situation with no Gladiator's Medallion. He's not running the Renewal, so opting for the Wild Charge so he can get drinks later in the fight. Good pressure on Majorden right now. A startling amount of damage that Zach is being a little bit unresponsive to, just relying on Light of the Martyr. That's not a very big and powerful heal, and Trill is a very big and powerful Windwalker. A bit disrespectful by Never Lucky early on, but they get away with it.
Yep, get away with the greed. Samayam moves in, interrupt on Majorden. Beautiful play. They end up getting the ice block anyways. That was perfectly done by Samayam. Interrupting Majorden on Polymorph. All of a sudden, there's no threat of counterspell. He gets a free sheep on Zach. Zach can't do anything about it. I guess he could have thrown out the ultimate sacrifice if he really wanted to, but they end up getting the ice block. Beautiful plays from Method Orange, and this is actually not looking too bad. I mean, Majorden on the Fire Mage, he only has one ice block for another 4 minutes, so it's going to be scary. Trill and Samayam, if they can get another setup, it could be the Divine Shield. If they get one more, it could be the game.
All right, let's see if they can pull it off here. Method Orange showing a lot of confidence in these Druid compositions here against Never Lucky, but Sea-Doo gets interrupted. He can't use Barkskin when he's counterspelled during a stun. They're going for the all-in to kill him. Is he going to make it out alive? He needs some help. He needs it now. Big damage. Kolo all-ins with the Cloak of Shadows to immune crowd control. Zach all-ins with the Divine Shield as well, but they didn't get the kill. Sea-Doo stays alive, and Never Lucky blow out all of their defense to stay aggressive to barely scratch Sea-Doo. This is devastating for Never Lucky. They're trying to pull an ice block here from Samayam with the smoke bomb. Perhaps they can get it, but not even enough damage to get an ice block. Samayam holds on, although Sea-Doo likely wants to save his Iron Bark as long as possible just in case he gets swapped to. Touch of Death available. Trill can make a play here. I'm very curious when Trill's going to pull the trigger on that. Sea-Doo's moving in. Method Orange have confidence. They're looking for an aggressive push. They've got Majorden pinned in a Vortex. Sea-Doo's going to sit through that Hammer of Justice. Samayam tries to get a Polymorph, but now Counterspell's out of the way. Sea-Doo goes for Bash. Cyclone. Touch of Death was activated, although it didn't do too much. It was actually Blessing of Protection to instantly off. Sea-Doo's trying to sit through blind. He doesn't want to be a swap target later on. They need to get a sap out of this. Doesn't look like they're in position to get it. Polymorph gets stopped. Blind goes effectively wasted at that point for Never Lucky. Things are falling apart for them. Method Orange looked good to take game 2 and advance to match point.
Well, they're going after Samayam. He still has both of his ice blocks. Majorden does not have that luxury for another 3 minutes. Zach has had really good positioning so far. He realizes one polymorph on him, that's the game. So he needs to be very careful in a good position to stay away from Samayam at all costs. And I think it's going to be up to Sea-Doo and Trill to try to help Samayam set up for some crowd control. Otherwise, Majorden could just easily survive. Temporal Shield gets used. He gets topped off because of that. Samayam moving forward. There's a polymorph on Kolo. He's been left with Sea-Doo. Sea-Doo's going to be able to get a Cyclone. Now it's up to Samayam. Can he get the polymorph? Zach does a good job avoiding it. Majorden finds a Ring of Frost as well. Fortunately, Majorden gets denied on his Ring of Frost. Cole actually goes just for the sap. and this could be potentially the first ice block from Samayam, but Samayam with good positioning avoids a lot of the incoming damage that Never Lucky had available.
All right, good avoidance so far. Mana really the only problem right now for Method Orange.
Nice.
Majidin getting bursted though, they could just outright kill him. Zac stabilizes with the ultimate sacrifice. Majidin's immune to damage, and the damage that he takes is redirected to Zac. Zac has Avenging Wrath that increases his healing, so likely his team will recover here, but at the expense of quite a bit of mana. Trill getting stunned up by Colo. Curious how Colo is trying to set up with that Vanish. Now a Hammer of Justice onto Sea-Doo. Looks like Trill's going to be the target. They're trying to catch him off guard. A D-Yard stun, but maybe a D-Yard stun's all they need to
Blessing of
close it out.
Protection!
They bop off the Karma. Sea-Doo panic trinkets out of the Polymorph with Ironbark. A huge panic attack for Method Orange. Suddenly they are very far behind on cooldowns and Never Lucky keep themselves alive in game 2.
Well, now there's just a massive vulnerability, and his name's Trill. Majidin, he has Combustion. The next kidney shot, Trill has nothing. He's got no trinket. Sea-Doo has no trinket. If they get one clean setup onto Trill, it's just going to be the game. Trill's going to have to do a phenomenal job running away, but he's got no Transcendence. Full crowd control onto Sea-Doo. Trill, what are you going to do? He's out of line of sight. Colo all over him. Majidin as well. There's a full blind on Sea-Doo. He's got no trinket. Trill's going to have to pull off miracles to survive the situation.
All right, sitting through a blind at the moment. He has to. Now in a sap, but Trill in a 1 versus 3 is avoiding Never Lucky at all costs. Zac wraps around the corner. Colo shadow steps in to try and kill, but then Trill portals away out of line of sight, avoiding that situation that would have otherwise been certain death. Now charging forward to close the game out with Touch of Death available. Majidin blinks back with a Greater Pyro, doesn't get it though, unfortunately. Now Touch of Death is active. They're racing the Temporal Shield. Majidin's gonna have to Ice Block on top of it. Nice force by Method Orange, but look at the mana. Again, I was pointing it out earlier. Sea-Doo doesn't have a lot of it. When he runs out, he's not going to be able to heal anymore. Majidin, though, he could just die before that point even happens. Huge damage. Zac needs 17 more seconds to his Avenging Wrath. His mana is not looking too awesome, but at least a little bit more awesome than Sea-Doo's in this position. Trill out of Polymorphs in a second, looking to close the game as soon as he connects. Colo's going to go after Trill, but there's Gladiator's Maledicts. It's absorbing all of the heals onto Majidin. He gets the ultimate sacrifice right before getting cloned. Clutch timing by Zac. They drop Smoke Bomb. I'm not sure what was the goal with that Smoke Bomb.
It was actually not a bad Smoke Bomb. It denied the Cyclone incoming from Sea-Doo onto Majidin. If he had got that Cyclone off, Majidin would have just let the Divine Sacrifice fade from him, and then he wouldn't have got any heals during that time from Zac. So I don't think it was a bad Smoke Bomb whatsoever. I think Cole might have saved the day there on Majidin, but still Majidin in some trouble. Temporal Shield does bounce his hit points up. Sea-Doo gets interrupted. Trill into a kidney shot, but it gets overlapped with Polymorph, so a bit of mismanagement there by Never Lucky, and Samayam really just taking control of the situation. Majidin in a Polymorph, Colo in a Frost Nova, and now it's all the opportunity for Method Orange to really get aggressive. We're at 15% dampening. The only thing Never Lucky has going in their favor is they have a lot of their defensives rotating back up, and Zac has a bit of a mana lead right now.
All right, can they keep the lead going here in the deep dampening? Trill the target again. What's he going to do to stay alive? Touch of Karma. Is there a Blessing of Protection to remove it? They're just actually killing him through it. Ironbark gets activated. Is that even going to be enough? Trill is taking so much damage from Never Lucky right now. A huge push at this moment in time. Majidin barely recovers with that Temporal Shield. Now trying to reposition to get crowd control on Sea-Doo, but he's being pressured away. Ring of Peace knocks him to the side. Zac's not in LOS. Huge damage, no cooldowns, and that's gonna be it. No, Cauterize actually still available. Majidin on the run as that triggers and enhances his speed, but he is taking a pretty big damage over time effect. Somehow Zac has actually stabilized him through that push, keeping his team in the fight, just trying to burn down the last remainder of Sea-Doo's mana, but there's a Touch of Death. Zac's in unfortunately, it's actually a fully diminishing returned Polymorph. Majidin goes for the Ring of Frost with 1 second left, gets it. It's still 3 versus 1 on Trill. Potentially Never Lucky can take it. Trill portals out of the Meteor, but Zac is right there. Sea-Doo's with Trill as well. We'll Sea-Doo be able to heal through the damage. Colo with Blessing of Freedom looks to connect and close this out with pure damage. Ironbark available. It's likely needed at this point. If Sea-Doo gets crowd controlled, Trill could die. At this moment in time, Majidin gets sacrificed. He's going to be fine. Sea-Doo's in a stun. They didn't Ironbark. Trill has to run, wrapping around the corner. Colo trying to catch up to him, gets a re-stealth. Now he can also cheap shot to set up Majidin for crowd control, but gets Frost Nova out of stealth. Samayam anticipating Colo's movements. Colo actually Cloak of Shadows aggressively, realizing that Majidin is done for. Colo has to make something happen. He's going to try to, but I don't think they've got enough crowd control. Sea-Doo's sitting through a kick comfortably. Trill now has Touch of Karma again. Zac's got Avenging Wrath for a few moments, but after that, There's nothing.
Yeah, Trill could be in a little bit of trouble, though. They do, I guess they don't have the Blessing of Protection, so he has a safe Karma at this point. Majiden, really nothing left. No Cauterize, no Ice Block. They have some offensive cooldowns. They're trying to go for it, but Sea-Doo preemptively Iron Bark to deny. And now it's Zach that's in a full polymorph. If Trill can get there, if he can land the damage, Majiden's going to be in so much trouble. Sam trying to just solo him. Trill and polymorphs. There's been no backup, and now the crowd control has faded, and Zach should be able to keep Majiden alive. Now it is the time for Never Lucky to sort of reverse the pressure onto Trill, but I just don't know if Zach can sustain. He's completely out of mana. There's no defensive cooldowns. Majiden has his Ice Block coming up in just 5 short seconds. I think he might have enough time. Trill pushes forward with the Touch of Karma. 1 second left. Ice Block, and now it's Trill. Trill's going to be in a lot of trouble. An interrupt on Sea-Doo. Trill's not going to have too much healing. Can Colo and Majiden reverse this game? Is Trill going to be forced defensive? If they can pull it off, it would be a miracle, but I think it's Majiden that's going to fall. Big burst damage coming in from Trill. Fist of Fury, Whirling Dragon Punch. Method Orange up in this series 2-0.
That was the quickest /AFK I think I've ever seen after dying. Majiden was insta out of there in that game. Method Orange 2-0 up. Really impressive display. There was some scary moments, but I think that's inevitable against the RM Paladin. Overall, very well played, Method Orange.
Yeah, at the end of that one, Sea-Doo actually just sat through the blind, the Hammer of Justice, the Ring of Frost, everything. I'm pretty sure Never Lucky just kind of scarred Sea-Doo for the rest of the game after that first swap at the very beginning of the game when he did trinket the blind and nearly ended up going down. But I gotta say, Sam was very, very impressive this game. Didn't have to use his Ice Block at all, and constantly when they were doing these setups here on the side of Never Lucky, Sam was always there with a counter spell, polymorphing up Majiden, and also even towards the end here when he was free casting, he was able to get a lot of pressure here onto Majiden and really get that Frost Mage burst going. So Sam had a phenomenal performance here in his first game of the day, and Trill as well. You gotta give it up to this guy, kiting so well, being under pressure. There was a couple of scary moments where everybody on Method Orange was able or was in crowd control, but he was able to kind of teleport around the map and use that Windwalker mobility to his advantage. So it's really nice what Method Orange did here, because they avoided that DK matchup, that DK Windwalker matchup, and instead they put themselves in a matchup where there's still disadvantage, but they can overcome it. So pretty good job here. The only thing that I'm a little bit concerned about is the mana pool of Sea-Doo. In the past, they have lost this matchup where Sea-Doo just goes out of mana before Zach, so that's the main thing they got to keep in mind, I think.
Yeah, maybe the bigger map actually worked to their advantage in that situation, but obviously all the practice that Method Orange have put in to this Windwalker Mage Druid is starting to pay dividends for them here. We'll have to find out if it can secure them a spot in the top 4 next. Ladies and gentlemen, this could be the final game of the day here in North America. We've had some fantastic ones. Method Orange are looking to make it through to Championship Sunday, ensure that Sea-Doo doesn't have his Sunday off here against Never Lucky. Never Lucky, though, defending champions, they definitely won't go down without a fight. They've got a small map here and a great opportunity to potentially pull one back against Method Orange.
All right, let's see if they can do it here. Method Orange are looking solid with their Druid compositions. Perhaps they should employ them here. I think they were trying some interesting, innovative strategies against Cloud9, potentially trying to counter them on paper, but Cloud9 were more than ready and prepared. So Method Orange battled to try and have a second chance later on in the tournament. They still need to get through Never Lucky. Never Lucky have an opportunity to reverse sweep, and they're fully capable of it. We have seen in the past that they can absolutely erase players or drag fights on for such a long period of time that they overwhelm the enemy team. So far, Never Lucky engaged crowd control on 3 players. Sam is going to use his Gladiator's Medallion to disrupt that crowd control chain. Sea-Doo also commits his Gladiator's Medallion to remove blind. Iron Bark to stop the initial assault. Never Lucky are playing a much more standard strategy this time around, going after the mage Sam. Method Orange are also targeting the mage and the opposing team Majiden. Zach and the Cyclone. Majiden very low on health and already into an Ice Block. This is a confident push from Method Orange and looking like they are possibly going to 3-0 clean sweep Never Lucky.
Really good attempt there by Method Orange, getting the Ice Block from Majiden almost instantaneously. Big setup now onto Sam. Smoke Bomb gets dropped. Kleptomania spell sale from Majiden as well. Sam with a counter Kleptomania gets all of those heal over time effects back. And now he should be completely fine because of that. Icy Veins gets traded out. Sam looking to get really aggressive right now. Can he land the polymorph onto Zach? That is going to be the question. Doesn't look like it. Zach's had really good positioning in this match so far. Sam really hasn't found polymorphs on him. outside of Sea-Doo and Trill helping set up that crowd control. Trill with a beautiful paralysis on Zach into a full cyclone. Wow, that was nicely done by Method Orange. Zach was looking to get aggressive, but with the help of Trill, they were able to reverse the pressure and momentum on Majidin. Majidin gets the ultimate sacrifice at 5% health. Nicely done there by Zach, but honestly, Method Orange is on fire.
Method Orange are on a spree right now, although Sea-Doo gets caught in a polymorph, a bit of a blunder and an opportunity for Never Lucky to get an ice block. They need a bit more damage. Trill slowing it down though by stunning Majidin and actually counter pressuring. Big damage from Trill right now. Zach struggling. If he gets interrupted by Samayam, it's going to be game over. Zach has to fake cast the counter spell. He's not getting through it though, and Majidin keeps dipping lower. Now he's in a bash. Colo can't assist. They switch it into a poly. He uses the Divine Shield. Majidin though is just getting blasted by damage. Zach is struggling to heal, even immune to crowd control. Majidin cycloned at low health by Sea-Doo. Now looking to maybe switch that over to Zach. Samayam being counter pressured. Never Lucky need to get an ice block here. If they don't, they're so far behind. Sea-Doo's in a full polymorph. How on earth do they not get an ice block here? Samayam is recovering. It looks like he's okay. He's holding out while Sea-Doo sits at the polymorphs. Trinkets out of blind. Fair exchange for Method Orange, and they continue to establish their lead.
Yep, nicely done. Majidin has a lot of damage at his disposal. There's an all-in opportunity onto Sea-Doo. Are they going to be able to get it rolling? If they can get a kidney shot into a Hammer of Justice, Sea-Doo could just be the end of days for him. But it's a fully polymorph onto Zach, and it's Majidin that's in trouble. Zach has no defensive cooldowns left besides the Blessing of Protection, but he's in a full Cyclone. What can they do? Majidin on the run. Cauterize gets absorbed by Maledict. He's trying to survive. Zach doing everything he can to keep him alive. Good kiting there by Majidin. Does end up surviving, but the combustion, he tried to counter pressure.
He jumped down off the side, actually line of sighted Zach for a second. I almost thought that that was going to lose him the game. Blessing of Protection still available. Sacrifice is rotating back up. Avenging Wrath is rotating back up. If Zach can stay alive a bit longer, I mean, Sea-Doo's mana is not good. He's already below half. Zach has a huge lead there. Colo sitting through and entangling roots out in the side corner of Dalaran's sewers for quite a long period of time. Zach wasn't able to get him out. Now he's Cyclone. Majidin's in trouble. This could just be game over if they keep chaining them together. They get the second and they take the game. Method Orange's Mage Druid synergy is on point today. I love that they're utilizing Samayam and Trill together a lot more.
Yeah, Method Orange looking absolutely fantastic. A solid and dominating game 3 here. A 3-0 quickly, honestly, compared to what we saw last week between these two teams. Method Orange really has it figured out now. It seems like, again, Sea-Doo on the Druid looking great. Samayam always looks fantastic on their Mage. And it's great to see Trill back to fighting form as well.
Yeah, all of them just dominated throughout the entire match. They forced out all the cooldowns so quickly. And the important thing when you play that Druid Mage as well is finding those openings with the crowd control and crowd controlling people on low HP. And here at the end of this one as well, absorbing the Cauterize with the Maledict. Samayam tanked the counterspell there. They go for the Incapacitate into the Cyclone while Samayam is still counterspelled on his polymorph. Can't even assist with the crowd control there. And, you know, they do such a great job with it. Actually, I think I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. They haven't done that play just yet, but it's coming. And Trill as well. Every time Sea-Doo was caught up in CC chains, he was throwing out the Vivifies. There it is. Samayam getting counterspelled, and then Trill immediately initiating because Majidin is solo. Incap into the Cyclone. Samayam just adding in damage, going for the Ebon Bolt as well. And here I was just thinking in my Mage brain, just block it, Samayam, you know. Offensive block. I would have loved to see that, honestly. There's a few things in World of Warcraft that are as BM as blocking to kill another Mage offensively like that. I would have loved to see
specialty.
That. Yeah, I'm a bit of an expert in that field. I'm also, you know, I've thrown a few blocks, you know, to waste that way, but we don't talk about that. Honestly, stellar performance by Method Orange, closing it out 3-0 against the team they lost to in the finals last week.
Well, I mean, at least now I know where your ice blocks go, because they certainly aren't available when you're low on health. So let's have a look at the brackets then to round out the day. It's been a fantastic day, guys. We've had a lot of fun, so thank you for bearing with us with all the games. We've had some longer ones, we've had some shorter ones, but ultimately the outcome is something that I think a lot of us would have predicted. The boys in Cloud9, the top two teams through spring, now confidently find themselves in the upper bracket finals leading into tomorrow's